What up, y'all? Welcome back to Sip2Tally Films. Now, at some point in when you're doing this YouTube stuff and you reach out to certain people to ask them to come on this show and you don't get a response or they just miss it or a lot of people just don't want to get, involved in the YouTube spaces because they can get kind of funny and go against what they do. Well, in this case, I was able to get a guy to come on my show because we had a mutual friend. And we'll explain who that mutual friend is once I release it. But just know this is one of the things that I've been working on behind the scenes for you guys for a minute. And I hopefully in the future can bring you more of these from different um, personalities. Hopefully this video and will help build a rapport to get me in some doors that I previously wasn't able to get into. So without further ado, this is an interview, I've been working on for a minute, and I present to you a surprise from More Sip2Tally to you guys. Run the intro. Welcome back to Sip2Tally Films. I'm your host, Coach Evans, and today we have a very, very, very special guest today. And in most workspaces, me as a young pup, I was always thinking it's about, your merit and what you know will get you in certain places. But in this time, who you know got me this opportunity. And we're gonna talk about that in just a second. But I want to introduce to you guys on Sip2Tally channel, Kyle Youmans, the new voice of the Baltimore Ravens. Welcome, Kyle, to Sip2Tally Films.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Coach. Like you said, we've got some mutual connections, and always enjoy hopping on. Glad to have a couple moments here.
Okay, so that mutual connection, if you don't know, is Botch Lombardi. Now, yesterday we
Mhm.
were trying to get this situated, and Kyle asked me, "How did I know Botch?" And for those that don't know, Botch actually played center for me back in good old Natchez, Mississippi. And if you ever watch Botch's channel, you'll see him in his jersey and the Letterman jacket on the wall. Well, I was his coach for those 4 years. I was offensive coordinator. He was the center, and that's how that came to pass. But my question to you is, how do you know Vach?
Yeah, me and Vach have had the pleasure of working together on draft coverage. Whenever I was working with and covering the Dallas Cowboys, we worked kind of just as not of the business and of draft coverage around the Cowboys. And then his work, as incredible as it is, really started to blow up and started to gather quite a following, so much so that Derek Eagleton took notice of it during his time with the Cowboys and said, "Hey, I'm going to put you on the draft show," which I hosted, which was a podcast that we took a lot of pride in and had a lot of fun on. And Vach and I have gotten to know each other even more so over these last couple of years. He's just salt of the earth. He talks about the Mississippi days, and he's one of those guys that never forgets where he came from. And so I
Mhm.
always wish him well, and I think he's going to be an incredible superstar in this media industry more so than he even has been already.
He is the reason that I do this.
Yeah.
I was we was talking about YouTube stuff, and I had this started off as a voice only podcast, kind of like what we doing now. And
Yeah.
he was like, "Well, coach," and I saw what he was doing because they always talk about tabs on the screen. I saw what he was doing. He was like, "Coach, you ought to just do this too, because all I'm
Yeah.
doing is what you used to do in the meeting room with us." Like, you know what? You're right. So
You
I switched
sound.
over to this, which coincided with us drafting Lamar, and it's
Uh-huh.
basically, for me, has kind of went up and up since then. So I basically been doing this since Lamar has been with the Baltimore Ravens. But I will tell you this though, my last actual just regular podcast
Mhm.
was Courtney Cronin.
Oh,
Do you know
wow.
who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, my last regular podcast was Courtney Cronin because she used to she used to work for the Clarion Ledger, which was the
Uh-huh.
state's newspaper in Mississippi. So shortly, and I met her in person. She came to a couple of our practices because we had a couple of NFL type
Mhm.
guys there. And I met her and we talked and whatnot. And so when she left there and went to the Warriors, she
Mhm.
was gracious enough to come back and just talk to me for about an hour, whatever. And then shortly after, she went to the Bears, then ESPN, and now, if I'm not mistaken, last week I saw her hosting First Take.
Yeah, she's, like, way up there now.
So she done took off. She survived the
Incredible.
round of cuts, and so
Yep,
she good now. So she
good
good.
for her.
So as far as back to you, what's your
Mhm,
background as far as how did how did it apply to you getting this job? Like what did you do other than you talked about the draft show that
mhm.
that got you into this football media space?
Yeah, I think from the beginning, even going back to my childhood, I always had a passion for sports and I wanted to be involved in sports in some shape, fashion, or form. I didn't know if it was going to be as a player, which I wasn't super good as a player. It was going to be as a coach. I probably would have enjoyed coaching, but I really found a love for the media side of things, and that developed early. And so I knew I wanted to go into sports media, and I knew play-by-play was ultimately the dream. That's what I
Mhm,
wanted to do, was call games, be in the middle of it, provide a soundtrack to the great moments in sports, because when you think about some of the great moments in sports, you also think about the calls
mhm,
that coincide with it, and that's what's exciting for me, is to just be a part of an organization like the Ravens, and which with as much history as they've been able to accumulate over 30 years, it only means that there's more to come over the next 30 years or so. And I'm excited to just play a very small part in all of that. So yeah, I think all of that's really fun, and it's been a dream of mine forever. So I started early, working on any game I could possibly call during my time at UNT, the University of North Texas.
mean
Uh,
green.
yeah, you're darn right. All day, bleed green till I die. They did a great job of giving me a platform to grow my skills early and to build confidence, and that continued all the way through college. I got a job in small market radio down in Waco, Texas, my
Mhm,
hometown. Covered Baylor athletics there. Then moved to minor league baseball. Got a job with West Virginia, or in West Virginia, calling baseball games at a high A affiliate of the Seattle Mariners there. And
okay,
then through kind of my connections and being around high school football in Texas, got a job with the Cowboys, and it started as a production job, just behind the scenes, working cameras, editing video. But I wanted to be on air, and so while I
mhm,
was also doing freelance play-by-play, I started hosting some shows with the Cowboys. They gave me the opportunity and let me prove my stuff there. And once I kind of established myself and started to grow, so did the play-by-play freelance opportunities too. So I've gotten the chance to call some high level college football, college basketball, a couple NFL games here and there, but
okay.
uh, was really working for an opportunity like this. And so when it came available that the Ravens were hiring, I refreshed all my demo reels and my resume, and sent out a ton of text messages and emails just saying, "Hey, I'd love an opportunity at this." And um, interviewed, had a great conversation with the front office here, and I think we shared a good vision together, and I'm excited to really grow what is the Ravens media department, and grow into something special for fans everywhere.
So if you can you enlighten us a little bit on what the process was like to submit whatever you need to submit
Mhm.
and eventually get the interview, and how was the interview, and how was the process?
Yeah, it was really interesting because Jerry Sandusky, who was the play-by-play announcer before me, he announced his retirement on April 1st, and
Mhm.
pretty soon after that, I got a call from somebody on the search committee for the Ravens, because they I've been looking for a job like this. They knew I wanted to go into uh, the media game like this, and find a play-by-play role. He said, "Hey, I can maybe get you an interview, but you got to do the rest." So uh, refresh your resume, refresh your demo reels, kind of put it all together so that way you put your best foot forward. So I said, "Okay, thanks for the advice," and that's what I did. And he helped me get a an initial interview. From there, I really connected with a couple of the staff members here. Led to another interview, which then led to in person interviews and being a finalist. I was one of three finalists for the job, and there were some really talented finalists and other applicants that I had heard of, that I'm so humbled that I was even in the conversation, and that's kinda how I felt. I went into it really not knowing what to expect. I had never really gone after a play-by-play full-time gig like this before. There have
Mhm.
been other openings in the NFL, but none that I really felt like chasing after, but this felt like a good fit. It's a phenomenal organization, It was going to be a good spot for me and my family. So like
Mhm.
I went after it and I wanted to put my best foot forward. And once I came in for the interview, I felt like things went really well, but I really didn't know where I stood out of the final three. And I got a call a couple weeks later that said, "Hey, we'd love for you to be the next voice of the Baltimore Ravens." And how does that sound? I said, it sounds like music to my ears. Let's get up to Baltimore and let's make this thing happen. And it's been fast and furious from that point, been about 6 weeks and moving the family across the country. I'm
Mhm.
the only one up here at the moment. The
Okay.
rest of my family's still back in town trying to help sell the house in Dallas. And it allows me to kind of establish a little bit of rhythm from a professional standpoint here. So it's been divide and conquer over the last few weeks, just getting up to Charm City and making sure everything's good to go for the season.
And that was gonna be my next question. What has the transition been like from Dallas to Baltimore? And you just previously stated that the fam is still trying to take care of
Mhm,
the the closing of the Dallas chapter while you're starting the Ravens
mhm.
chapter. How has that been as far as you going to Baltimore?
Yeah, it's tough from just being away from the family. I mean, we have triplet toddlers, and
Oh,
they're such a fun age. Yeah, they're all 2 years old.
terrible
Um,
twos.
yeah,
Well,
but
I'm
it's
gonna say this.
fun,
Shout out to the
man.
missus.
Yeah,
Shout out to
she's
the missus.
incredible. Yeah, and so, like, I mean, you have that, like, father's guilt of being away and
Mhm,
not continuously, like, hugging on and loving on and playing with the kids like, they should from their dad and from their father, and so, like, that hurts a little bit being away, but as far as, like, the football element of it does or goes, and as far as people in Baltimore, everybody's been so welcoming. Like it feels like a family here. And I'm excited to continue to grow relationships and continue to pour into the people around me. I want to be involved in the community. I want to be the voice of a community instead of just the voice of the franchise. I want to be the
mhm,
voice of the greater Baltimore area and the DMV and everybody that is Ravens fans and no matter where they may be, I want to be a voice to them. So a lot of what I've been doing recently is just networking and learning the team. And I feel like I still haven't done a whole lot to this point, but I know once it really gets going and the season is here, it's going to be fast and furious.
mhm,
Preseason games are going to be a ton of fun alongside Rod Woodson. So the it's funny because I've said this to a couple people when I was working in Dallas and going to training camp and watching practices and gathering information there. It's the same thing. The football element and the professional element is the same thing. It's just in a very different place with a very different organization.
mhm,
And it's a different role that I'll be occupying whenever it boils down to it. So, a lot of learning, a lot of maneuvering, and then a lot of missing the kids at the moment. But it's been a lot of fun, and I wouldn't trade it for the world because at some point it's going to be really worth it. And once they get up here,
mhm.
then it's really the dream job that I've been looking for.
Gotcha. Now you just said something that made me think about another question. What goes into prep for
Mm.
a game? Like what do you need to do for yourself? Like what kind of information do you have to gather if you're calling a 1 o'clock game on Sunday? What's your typical Wednesday, Thursday, Friday like as far as gathering information?
Yeah, a lot of it is film study, and that's where Vach and I connected initially, is we both love to watch film and rehash what happened the week prior, and then watch what's happened, what could happen, and what the opponent's going to bring to the table the next week.
Mhm,
And then a lot of that surrounds what we call in the business our spotter boards or spotter charts, where they're these big 11 by 17, at least my size is 11 by 17 piece of paper, and on the front is the offense, on the back is the defense, and it's basically a cheat sheet that
mhm.
shows everything that we could possibly talk about throughout a broadcast, and
Okay.
it tries to encompass everything I can get into a broadcast. I may only use 20% of it, I may use
Mhm.
50 to 60% of it, but a lot of the times you don't use everything that you put on your spotter board.
Okay.
So it's really just a study tool of taking notes, writing down stats, talking to
Mhm.
coaches, talking to players, and gathering the most potent information for fans that are going to be tuning into the broadcast that they could walk away uh, with something to talk about. One thing that I really like, uh, and one of my mentors was the one that brought this to my attention, but the the fans that are listening want to be the smartest person in the room. They want to be somebody that can go to their water cooler at work, or go to the bar after work, or go to a dinner with family members and have something off the top that they heard in the broadcast that they can share, and that
Mhm.
can really push them to being not just a diehard fan, but a knowledgeable fan. And I was the
Mhm.
same way in whatever sports I was following. I'm a big racing fan. I love
Okay.
F1 and NASCAR and IndyCar. I love like racing in general. So the racing info that I digest is something that I want to share with somebody down the line and have a conversation with. So I get to be that for people in this community now with the Ravens, and it's a super loyal and super smart fan base as
Yes.
is. So
Yes.
with that being the case, it just makes me step my game up even more. I have to come with a little bit of a deeper note, or a little bit
Mhm.
of a cooler stat, because whenever they get to it, they're already going to know the basic information. So it's my job to further that as we're going along, and also provide an entertaining call to a game, and really let the moment be the moment.
Got you. So you've been there for a while now, and training camp started last week, and you've been at the practices. What is your that you can say? Because I know it's a limit on what you can say. What are your observations from practice so far about offensively and defensively?
I'm gonna answer whatever question you got. I don't care about any limitations. I've got a 2-hour, like, window of opportunity on the game day, like, on Saturday, this past Saturday, and
Uh-huh.
that was all I've been able to talk about. So, my thing with this team is they have the talent.
Hmm.
That's not even a question. They have weapons at every level. You've
Yes.
got a Hall of Fame running back. You've got a multi-time MVP at quarterback. You've got a
Hmm.
wide receiver one who just signed a $140
Huge
million
deal.
extension and is a back-to-back Pro Bowler. You've got a high level, like, veteran tight end that you can rely on both physically and mentally in this game. You've got an offensive line with first round picks now on it, and a veteran at
Hmm.
left tackle. You've got a top five edge rusher in Trey Hendrickson now. You've got a top five defensive tackle back with Namdi Matabike. You've got Roquan Smith, who you could argue is the best linebacker consistently of his generation at this point in
Hmm.
time, at least consistent. You talk
Right.
about, even last year was a down year. The dude had 130 tackles. So
Sure did.
you have all this, and the best safety in football, and
Yep.
playmakers at corner. I'm just naming the top end of it.
Right.
This team has every element to make something special happen. So, what all brings it together? The coaching staff. And
Yep.
that's what I've been watching a lot of over the last couple of days, and last couple of weeks of training camp, is how does the energy flow from Jesse Minter? And a lot of it is, I think, a first year head coach trying not to overdo it early, because there have been some practices that are maybe a little bit under the radar,
Hmm.
in terms of not effort. Everybody's given effort, but in terms of intensity, today was
Hmm.
not that. At least the Tuesday practice this week was just straight physicality. It was really fun to watch. It was a great competitive environment. Friday's practice, which was not in front of fans, reminded me of that too. A lot of
Okay.
competitive nature, a lot of jawing back and forth. I mean, this is a team that loves each other, but this is a
Hmm.
team that wants to compete against each other too. And there's a lot of smack talk around it, and I love that. As long as it's not ending in fights or
Right.
injuries or anything like that, which that hasn't happened yet. I think it's been a really fun environment, because on paper this team is as good as any in the NFL.
Hmm.
But now I'm starting to look at it as, okay, if you can put them all together and make this a unit moving forward, this team's going to win a lot of games.
So I just did a live stream with my audience, and part of that
Mhm.
live stream was Jacoby's catch today that a lot of people tweeted about.
Yeah.
Now, somebody in my live stream said that was probably they compared that to Odell's catch. And I
Mm.
personally was like, oh, Odell's catch to me was absolutely nuts back in when he was with the Giants. But I thought about it. I said, you know what? The video probably doesn't do that catch justice.
Mm.
I'm assuming you saw it today.
Yeah, I was
You
about 10
how
feet from it. I was right next
how
to it
was
when
it?
it happened. The the Odell catch will always be number 1 to me just because of the situation. They actually ended up losing that game though.
Sure
But,
did.
like, he had double coverage with safety help over the top, still beat those guys, and he's falling backwards and scored into the end zone, like, in the middle of a game. Whereas Jacoby Lane, it was a really, really nice grab, but it's practice, and
Hmm.
we're starting to get accustomed to seeing him make just an insane play. But you're right, the camera angle didn't do it justice. He was falling backward, kind of like OBJ was,
I see a picture
falling
of it
back,
now.
yeah, falling backwards as he was going, and he was reached out full, almost full extension. Whereas
Hmm.
like Odell Beckham's was kind of like half cocked back,
Yeah,
whereas Jacoby Lane was almost full extension when he got his fingertips on the football, and then he brought it to the ground on the sideline and stayed in bounds, which I thought was huge.
it's crazy.
So, I mean, we were sitting right in front of it. I mean, it was me maybe 10, 15 feet away. The initial camera angle that the Ravens had, I was probably about 10 feet to the left. And I mean, I had to pick my jaw up off of the floor whenever that happened because it was an incredible play. The thing I love about it the most is that it's so different than the other highlight plays he's made because a lot of it has
Mhm,
just been elevating. He's so long, he's so athletic, he's got a great vertical, so he's been jumping over people and making plays. This one, he kind of had to go underneath to make
mhm,
a play. And then you pair that with his knowledge of the offense and his route running ability, which has been on display through training camp so far. And then I even like some of his special teams reps today too. So he's just having an all around camp, and it's not just the highlight reel plays, which
mhm.
we see receivers make great plays and stand out in training camp like that multiple times through our lifetime covering teams. Jacoby's is a full all around camp to where he's not only solidifying a real case for wide receiver 3, but he's looking to be maybe one of the top rookie contributors on this roster, and I think that's a huge plus for this team.
I know with Jacoby, I personally said that I think Surratt would be the better receiver this year, but I thought
Mhm.
for the career it would be Jacoby because he learned how to run routes and do
Yep.
different things, based off his size. But based off what, the videos and different people reporting, I think he's gonna be a way ahead of the curve from what I thought. And if his route running, like you just talked about,
Mhm.
can keep progressing, he'll contribute heavily this year, in my opinion. And we haven't had a young guy that can go up and play above the rim and still contribute in the regular part of offense. I thought
Mhm.
he would be a one trick pony, but I'm glad that he's proving me wrong at this point, and hopefully he continues to grow from there. So I'm excited to see what him and Surratt can do to the wide receiver room, to
Yeah.
be a compliment to Bateman and those other guys. Have
Yeah,
you?
that's the
I'm
key
sorry. Go
too,
ahead.
though. It like is just to keep just real quick, tie a bow on the wide receivers. That's the key is the consistency. I mean,
Hmm.
you said he's proving me wrong to this point, which is true because I was the same way. I thought Surratt was probably a more NFL ready guy. Jacoby Lane's been far better in most categories to this point. Doesn't mean Surratt can't make up that ground.
Right.
And especially when the lights come on, Surratt might just not be a practice guy. He might be a
Hmm.
gamer. He might be ready for when the bright lights come up. So we'll see what happens on August 15th to start against Philadelphia. Both those guys should see significant playing time.
Agreed.
So we'll get a good look at both. But my question to both of those guys will be, okay, where does your role fit in when both Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Tez Walker, who's now
Hmm.
shown it and scored and been a clutch third down red zone type weapon in this offense before, what happens when they get their targets?
Right.
And what happens to set yourself apart? So it looks great in training camp right now, but I still want to see a lot more from these rookies before we start crowning them the next man up, even though it would be a lot of fun because I imagine the combo between the speedster, just route technician, unbelievable yak ability of Zay Flowers,
Hmm.
and then the contested catch, the length, the physicality of a Jacoby Lane, and you pair those two together, you can have a lot of fun.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think Declan will maximize that. I've been studying some of the stuff from Chicago Bears last year, and like whether it's heads or bends, whatever. I've seen a lot of stuff that I feel like will help the team, especially with the under center stuff. And getting Zay, if you can get Zay in space, I don't care
Mhm.
what DB you have out there. If he get his hands on the ball and can see you, I don't think there's anybody that can make a clean tackle
Mhm.
initially. You got
No.
to try to corral him until the cavalry comes. But him and this one person one on one,
Good luck.
that don't bode well for you, right?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna close this out. And again, I appreciate your time. Do you have, because with Sandusky, there was a phrase that all of us love to hear, and it was the
Yeah.
haze in the barn. That pretty much
Uh-huh.
meant that the game was over. Have you been working on, and you don't have to tell me because I want to be surprised when I hear them as well,
Yeah.
your signature phrases so far, whether it be a first down saying or a touchdown saying or something like that? You got something
Mhm.
loaded up, ready?
I've been workshopping something. I have.
Okay.
The big thing with Jerry is that I don't wanna take his call. I know
Right.
Hayes in the Barn really meant a lot to Ravens fans, and it meant a lot to this community and everything. I think it was fantastic, and I really I enjoyed getting to hear the lore of it, where he gets it from his high school coach, and,
Mm-hmm.
it's kinda been his thing all the way through, and he would put it in a dagger moment of the game where the game is now out of hand and Baltimore can start to celebrate. Like, that's such an exciting thing. My workshop, like I said, or like you said, I'm not gonna reveal it yet, and I won't reveal it in the preseason either, just for those
Good,
that might
good,
wonder.
good, good.
I'm not using it in the preseason because wins and losses aren't the storyline there. When week 1 comes around on the road in Indianapolis, when the clock hits 0 against the Colts, that's when you'll hear it for the first time.
Got
That's
you,
that's
got you.
when you'll hear what it ultimately is, and I'm not gonna even reveal it as, "Here it is." You're gonna have
Just
to
gonna
hear it.
happen.
You're gonna have to think about it, 'cause I want it to be natural, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I want it to be something that I think Ravens fans and Baltimore as a city can rally around, and I have a pretty good idea. I haven't settled on it yet, so even I'm still working on it myself,
Got you.
but there's things that I'm gonna use, that feel like Baltimore, and they relate back to Baltimore, so that way we can kinda enjoy this all together.
Cool, cool. Well, I appreciate you spending this time with me. It took us a minute to get it situated, but it's this has been a great interview, and I think my followers, subscribers, or whatever, and just people that don't, when they hear about it, I think they're going to enjoy it because we don't really get an opportunity to talk to people that work this high in the organization. So that's
Mm.
why I really kept saying thank you for doing this for not only me but for just the Flock Nation in general. And
Yeah.
because it gives us an opportunity to get to know you more, which makes you more of a, and it's probably gonna be crazy to say, more of a human to us. And we'll, you get what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say.
Uh-huh.
And we relate to you more. We're
Yeah.
definitely gonna support you regardless. But
Mhm.
it's just I appreciate you taking this time out, and you don't know what this means to me, and probably to every other regular Ravens fan and content creator that you took the time out your day to do this. And that's why I'm not gonna waste your time. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Youmans, the new voice of the Baltimore Ravens. Thank you again, and we'll see you guys the next time on Sip2Tally Films. Peace and love, y'all.